Hello everyone and welcome to the LSI F1.5 EU Championship. We're today for the Hungarian Grand Prix, round 11 out of 12, the penultimate race of the season. And we're in qualifying, a few minutes remain. We've got a few brand new drivers on the grid, and we've got a few drivers switching for position, as we've just seen Fossa 66 go to P12. We've also just seen Edvir launch their way up to P2, the 15.9 sitting behind Frantic, who is already confirmed the champion. We'll see them out on track in a few moments' time, hopefully. And then it's all about the constructors. We've got Red Bull versus Alpine. It's Terence and Bernizant versus Frantic, and Black Skull, the new recruit to the French outfit, has this one going to go down here in Budapest. We'll find out. We've got Terence out on the lap, 16.4 they've set so far, and they're going to get a second run in as they joined with plenty of time in the session. As they come into the final sector, final few corners, and they're going to dive it into the pit lane. They've given up on the lap. It's not worth continuing, they say, and squirming to try and get to the pit lane entry, with those tyres being pretty worn out and hot. And it's Bernizant who's going to have to go into the pit lane surely as well, because they're currently very down on these tyres. 2 laps in a qualifying session is bad enough, but when you've got 2 laps on a tyre in Hungary, then it is very brutal. The thing is, the heavy load of the circuit just means that you end up really wearing those tyres down, scrubbing them very, very quickly, and all of a sudden you need to go back into the pit lane very quickly, and we'll see that in the race. That being said, talking about the race, the strategy is going to be very, very different. We've got a full wet start to the Grand Prix. We'll go to a kind of phase in the middle, and then it will be clear at the end. So this is going to be crazy. We've got 2 higher tier drivers on the grid. That is PJ and Verf. The rest are all current tier drivers or champions, aka Frantic. And we'll see how the rest goes. Fossa 66 coming into the middle sector now, and over the chicane they'll go, trying to tackle the aggressive curves and get that throttle back on through the S's, the left and the right, trying to manage the gears to give yourself the optimal power without losing the traction at the rear end. And then the high speed turn 11 into 12, braking as late as you can, as hard as you can, and send it over that inside curve, back on traction without going over track limits. And then the final 2 corners to go, as you're just trying to put the load on the steering wheel as little as possible, whilst also getting the throttle on, which you can also see in the first corner from Frantic, just dancing with the rear end to try and get it the right way around. Leading it downhill into turn 3, trying to avoid the locking up on the tyres, cutting everything you dare at turn 3. Sorry, that was turn 2. Turn 3, now turn 4, the uphill flat out, trying to use a little bit of engine braking to slow yourself down. Up through turn 5, using the uphill against you to give yourself more grip. Oh, a big bit of rear locking from Frantic might have actually gained them some extra lap time. It did seem to play out quite nicely, but is it just a little bit too much? Has it scrubbed off their speed? They come out of turn 11, another little bit of a mistake, but it's 2.5 tenths up, almost 3. The final sector's upon them, 4 minutes to go. This might not be their final lap, but it's definitely going to be one of the last few. The final corner coming up, and it's another just little bit of a moment on the steering wheel from Frantic, just finding little bits of grip and losses here and there. It's going to be a 3/10 gain. It's going to be a 14.966, and the champion shows why they are what they are. It's Terence in P6 once again out on track with a fresh set of tyres, drifting through turn 5 into the chicane. We'll watch them send it. They've missed the first apex. They've attached the second one quite nicely though. We'll see what they can do in the sector line when they come out of the S's. All over the circuit, all over the curves. The balance doesn't look absolutely optimal, but there it is. It's almost 3 intense improvements, and that would get them to a 0.1. They're looking to try and fight Mark Tunick for P4 if they can find a bit more lap time here to get ahead of the Ferrari. Once again, the final corner comes up. They'll get that DRS on very quickly just before the short run to the line. What's it going to be for Terence? 3 minutes on the clock, and it's going to be ahead of Mark Tunick. It is 0.321 of a second. And by the tiniest margin, they do beat the driver that they were aiming for, according to our eyes at least. Ed Veer on track once again on an outlap, getting ready to go for one more. And we'll see what... Oh, I've gone the wrong way. Gegner can do as they cross the line. They're going to start a lap, I believe. Or did they just finish this lap? They did, a 19.339. A little bit of a way to try and catch up to Foster in front. Philip, their teammate, is sat behind the two horses at the back of the pack so far. Earlier on, we did see Abubakar Hotiana unfortunately collide with the wall. Their teammates still in this race. It's good to see that both Aston Martins are back here with us today. And our new debutant in P11 looking to try and secure the team's championship if they can. It would be one hell of an effort. I believe Red Bull is still a little bit ahead. So a maximum result will be of asking. And let's go across the line, and it's going to be another lap they go for with full battery. In the meantime, Verth retires, and they will be starting at the back of the pack as we expect. What can we see from Ed Veer as they go through the first part of the lap? They've already backed off as they've turned the battery off. And that will be the end of their run for this one. We've got way 1 minute into the final few, not final few corners, in the middle of their lap. So we'll watch on board with the Swiss driver. Last Swiss driver to compete was Davin, and what a legend he was. 4/10 improvement, 4.5. Trying to get that car turned with a tight flick of the steering wheel, and then getting that traction on if they can. In the middle of the circuit there, finding some understeer into the final corner. Up to the line, what's it going to be? With the Sauber car, and it's going to be to P5 ahead of Terence, who's out of this session. I completely missed if they retired on track or in the pit lane. But Terence is done with qualifying regardless. We've got a few more cars to see how they finish their session. The champion is about to start their final run here. And we're going to get not Yanordi behind them, it's Elwain directly behind, and they go up to P6. The race winner from Saudi Arabia and the podium sitter from last time around in Belgium. Goes once again to improve. Is P6 where they want to be? Well, they retired their car and they wait for the next run. Their teammate though, Yanoldi, currently P4. Can they try and get themselves in that good position where they can compete for a victory finally? The Ferrari goes into the pit lane. The Williams comes out the final corner. Yanoldi across the line to P2. Oh, and they don't get there in the end. A brilliant improvement, but still a way away from Frantic in P1, who's on course to try and improve once again. Can we see an improvement from Berners in P10 at the moment? They round the final corner. It's going to be a lovely gain to P3. Absolutely awesome stuff. It's going to be Ed Veer in P5. What can they do? P4, sorry. And they do finish the session in P4 for now. It's Frantic, the only car left to finish the session, and it's going to be an improvement to pole position by almost 1.5 of a second, a 14.834, and they have done that one very, very nicely. The first race weekend coming into it as the champion. They're proving the point just to solidify it further. Yanordi on the front row of the grid. Berners in P3. Ed Veer, Mark Tunick, away 1 minute. Wayne, Terence, Jay Holly, Blacksco on P10. Abubakar retiring earlier on. Fossa Gegner and Philip in P14, the two higher tier drivers in P15 and 16. That's the session done. We're getting ready for a very interesting race. Remember, it's going to be a wet one to begin with. This is the race director. This is the instant section. It's Frantic on pole position, Yanaldi in P2, and Bernison in P3. Almost a Dutch 1-2-3. How about that? That's the rest of the grid. Scrolling down the order. We'll see in a bit for the race. Ready, hold, go! Who's going to get it into turn one? PJ getting a jump start off the beginning. I don't believe it. PJ, no, Frantic into turn one in P1. They should be able to hold it. They will hold it clearly. Oh, it's Yanaldi braking very early to try and get the traction down. Everybody struggling left, right and centre. But it's clear for the top few runners. We've got a side-by-side moment a little bit further behind. It is going to be the Alpine versus the Red Bull. Terence versus Black Skull. And it's now Terence trying to make progress on the cars ahead as they look to sweep around the outside. But they just have to back off for now. Elwain up to P3. Absolutely incredible. And they're going to have a look at their teammate as well. Around the outside at turn 5. The intermediate tyre looks to be strong. Absolutely perfect stuff there from Elwain. How's that going to be for the rest of the field? Lots of wet tyre running from many drivers. We've got Terence, Elwain and Verf all on the inters. Everybody else on the wets. They're going to struggle to begin with. Well, they should be at least. And they're only going to get quicker in this race. But Elwain's just overtaken their teammate around the outside line. And now they're 6/10 behind the race leader. Absolutely incredible start from the man who started in P6. Lovely stuff, and it's going to be the Red Bull to the inside. They didn't go for the move in the end. I thought they were going to send it. They stay back for now. We've got the Ferrari in the background, and Terence is all over the place on the traction, but they've got the car stopped, and they've spooked the Sauber out of the way. Weigh 1 minute, has to weigh 1 minute and give the position up because Terence is through. And the intermediate tyre isn't looking too bad at all. It's Bernison into the pit lane. Already into the pit lane. Are they going for the inters? We don't know when the wet tyres will wear out. We don't know when the wet weather will come to dry weather. So we don't know if this is going to be a good call or not. It's PJ serving their drive-through penalty at the earliest opportunity. They get clean air and then they can take it from then on. It's Elwain into P1 ahead of Frantic. Frantic just can't hold on with this wet tyre. And this intermediate is definitely heating up nicely. It's going to be, Edvir off the circuit, and it's going to be Terence once again trying to look around the outside line, and they're going to be there. Edvir just pushing them completely off the circuit. I don't think Edvir was looking in their mirror there. They go off the circuit themselves or slightly offline, and Terence is going to have to find another way through. Now, will they look to the outside line once again, or are they going to just send it on the brakes on the inside? This intermediate already seems the stronger compound in the early stages. A big bit of understeer there from the McLaren. It's the outside line chosen. It's going to be side by side into the braking zone, but once again, Edvir has just completely pushed Terence off the circuit. What are they thinking? And it's the inside line. Terence is going to stick his nose in. That's a risk in itself, but Mark Tunick gives the space, and it is perfectly executed. Terence is now going to try and make all that progress once again after the antics that Edvir's just thrown at him, has dropped him down the order and back into the battling further behind. We've got Verf in this battle directly behind as they've made progress up the field. Are we going to get a move? We're going to see the Aston Martin send it on the brakes, and that's almost Terence's day done. Luckily, it was just slowed down enough, and Verf is able to keep it in a straight line. Otherwise, that would have been horrible. Oh no! The Ferrari and the Alpine. Black Skull and Mark Tunick down the order. What happened between those two? There's damage on the front wing of the Ferrari, and Black Skull is further down the order, but they don't have any damage. They're lucky to get away with that one. What a shame, but it's wet weather, it's difficult to deal with, and you've got to be very, very careful. What can we see from Terence in P6? They've got this tyre, it's only going to get quicker at this stage. Elwain has broken away, 2.7 seconds away from frantic Yanaldi, 2.8 seconds from their fellow wet tyre runner. But now Terence has got the higher tier driver of Verf behind them, the home hero looking to try and take another victory in LSI. Even if it's in the F1.5 EU tier, you can still take the win over all. Now, Terence sitting in this P6 position, they catch back up to the Sauber that they just lost the position to a few moments ago, and Edvir is directly ahead of them as well. That was surely off track from weigh 1 minute, but weigh 1 minute's going to have to weigh 1 minute once again, because it's going to be take two for Terence on the traction. They have the advantage and they're going to get there. It's going to be Verf in the background as well, looking to try and get maybe the overtake on the Sauber. Also, the traction is going to be there, but there's a big bit of understeer, a bit of contact, and it's going to be the switchback for Verf. The inside line is now the outside line, but the grip is going to be there. Terence is ahead. They take their racing line, and they all sort themselves out quite nicely. But now Terence is going to have to try and have another look at the McLaren car on the exit into turn 4. It's going to be side by side up the hill. Surely this isn't going to work. Oh, I don't believe it. They're actually going to try and get it done. Verf will take the position freely. They're going to now try and find a way through on Edvir, who's 6.2 seconds away from Yanaldi. All this fighting is definitely taking a toll and allowing the race leaders to break away. The traction is there for this intermediate tyre, but they just can't find a way through right now. Looking a bit the villain at the moment. Further behind the battling going on, but we want to see this one. Oh, it's all the way over to the edge of the road for Verf. Are they going to have the traction? Yes, they will. On the power, the inside line is what they choose this time, and Edvir's not going to have a choice in the matter. They've closed off as much as they can the door from Verf. Verf doesn't switch to the inside and they'll stay where they are, but we've got the battle further behind. It's going to be surely Burnt having a look at making a move. Are they going to send it on the inside line? Oh, the braking difference was very different, but they do stay behind for now, pitting onto that intermediate tyre just a little bit earlier on into this race. Edvir defends to the inside line. It's going to be Verf on the outside, and I don't think they're going to have a choice in fighting with this position. Otherwise, they're just going to lose their front wing, as they almost risk doing that. Terence has got a good run, but not close enough. I do have to say, Edvir's very lucky to still be in this race, because their front wing has been at risk on many occasions. Terence has done a good job to keep it in a straight line as they've been forced off the track here and there. They're now going to have another look to the outside line. It's not going to be possible to get through. Oh, the defence there through that corner was actually very good there from Edvir. Once again, looking to the inside line to hold the position as Verth breaks away. The traction's here for Terence. They're on the inside, and now they do give the space. It's a vulnerable McLaren. It's Terence looking to the outside line. It's just not going to happen. Edvir is not making any friends out on track right now. They're doing what they can to stay ahead. It's working at the moment. That wet tyre is not fast. As you can see, Bernst on another set of tyres. We've got Philip Marchunik on another set, but we've got Elwain, the race leader, is out. They've left the session. Frantic takes the opportunity to pit, and everything could change. This battle continues. It's a big mistake on the traction as Terence tries to get there. They're going to have to use the battery to get this move done into the first corner. Will it work out for them? They're going to send it surely. The outside line is the one that they choose. They brake super late. They've got the traction and they've got the position. Absolutely awesome stuff. Spectacularly done from Terence. They make the move eventually on the McLaren, and they took the inspiration from Verth to get that job done in exactly the same way. Jay Holly, Abubakar catch up to the pack. It's Frantic on the fresh intermediate tyres. The dry line now appears, and they're looking to try and make their way through the order. Elwain's still out on track. Of course, they're losing time by being an AI car right now. Hopefully, they can get back in. We'll be back in a second just to make sure that we can invite them back. And then we should be good to go. But I do apologise for the slight delay. And that will be all of that sorted. And Elwain will be back in the race very shortly. Frantic, P8, making progress through the field. They're going to have to try and make more progress quickly. The outside line is not going to be the option, as that is a defensive throw once again from the wet tyre runners. This time it's Hotiana trying to get the job done, and they do hold on nicely. Oh, it's so close. It's so close. But there it is. The grip for the Alpine and the racing line through the final corner, drifting to P7, and now they hunt down Wave 1 minute just in front. Then Edvir, and it's Yanoldi into the pit lane, and they're going to maybe try and, I'm trying to find them, take an opportunity from their teammates' misfortune as they go and set a fastest lap of a 6-second 0.9. Elwain is back into this race. They're still in the lead of the Grand Prix by a decent margin, but they're having some connection problems, that's for sure. Hopefully this kind of sorts itself out, as it looks like it might be doing so. No, it's not really, is it? Well, we'll try and check in on that in a few moments' time and hope that it does get better. Verth in P2. We've got Terence who made that progress. Edvir, then it's Frantic trying to make this progress as they do get past the Sauber car. Now it's their fellow countryman and rival all the way back in the earlier part of the season for the title. They're giving it their best shot. Frantic has much better tyres this time. Looks for the switchback here and there, but it's never going to be around the outside of that corner, in fairness to Edvir. But on the traction and under braking, would Frantic risk it into turn 12 from this far back? It's just not going to be worth it. Unfortunately, the camera is very zoomed in, so we can barely see anything. But looking once again at the battle in front of Wave 1 minute, who's struggling for tyres, you can see Frantic looking everywhere possible to make the move. On the traction, it's once again going to be there. A drag race is never going to be won, surely, by Edvir, unless they've done something crazy with the setup. They're even into the corner. The inside line's available, and what is Edvir doing? Completely turning into the corner when there is a car fully alongside. They make the move, does Frantic, fortunately, but Edvir plummets as they continue with this wet tyre. I think it's time for all the wet tyre runners to go into the pit lane. Of course, they would give all of the intermediate pitters a free position, or a few free positions, but it would be better than nothing. Let's go into the pit lane. Promotes PJ, who's 25 seconds behind because of their drive-through penalty earlier on, but they're still making good progress in this race. Oh, and that's the car completely cutting the corner. I'm not entirely sure who that was who did that, but going off the circuit and staying in track position, because the track position did not change at all in this battle. Will Yanaldi be able to make the move? And they do look for the inside line, and surely that's going to be the job done. It's not. It's not. Holding off around the outside line. It's going to be Holly. Jacob stays in front for now, but now they do find themselves in that compromised position, going offline and losing a decent chunk of time. On the traction, using the battery, it is going to be Yanaldi surely having a look to the inside line. They're going to go for it anyway. Oh, they do brake a bit earlier, and they're not willing to give it a shot, but can they get there on the traction into turn 2 and 3? Turn 2's coming up. The outside line is theirs. Surely they're going to have the grip. They will have the grip, and it's a brilliant move. They still got to try and secure it. They do so eventually, and there's going to be no coming back on a wet tyre from Jay Holly. 2 lap-hold intermediates versus 8 lap-hold wets. And now it's time for more gains to be made from this tyre. We're just watching on board with all the intermediates because it is quite entertaining to see just how quick this compound is relative to the others, and a very, it was going to look like a clean move. They've tried to stick their nose in, has Abubakar, and they've done it, in fairness, but it wasn't really going to be worth it in the end. Yanaldi gets through regardless, and now they've got 2 more wet tyres to try and find their way past, and then they will be good to go. We've got Mark Tunick, Philip also, and Fossa at the back looking to fight each other, so we need to try and stay in tune with that battle if we can. But Wave 1 Minute is up next on the menu for the Dutchman in the Williams, and they're going to go slightly wider, get that traction down and boost out of the corner with the ERS on, and they're going to be right up to the back of the gearbox of the Sauber car, moving to the left hand side, almost making contact, and surely the outside line is going to be the beneficial one. They're ahead into the braking zone. It's going to be the move done. We've seen that many times now in this race, before from Verf, then from Terence. It's just the way to do it, and now they've got Edveer to try and get past the final wet tyre runner on the grid. Everybody else further behind have made pit stops, and it's been a brilliant gain from a few. It's going to be Gegner down the order as they dive into the pit lane, it looks like, unless they're side by side with their teammate, but they are surely going into the pit lane by being that far to the inside of the circuit. They're not going into the pit lane. Yanaldi goes through on Edveer in the meantime. Lovely stuff. We want to have a quick look at see what was happening further behind. It's the 2 teammates battling out very, very hard as they're locking wheels effectively and into the braking zone. Phillips not having any of it. They're going to have a look. They go to the far, but it's not going to be needed in the end from Gegner. From Gegner, they just back off. Fossa just further behind, looking to try and do what they can. Elwain still leading this Grand Prix, not pitting from earlier on, but having major connection issues, unfortunately. Not entirely sure what the problem is, but that's pretty insane. For now, they're not affected because of the gap that they have to the rest of the field. We see Edveer into the pit lane. Surely Wave 1 Minute's going to follow in a couple of laps' time, as Jay Holly does so as well. Alrighty, we're back once again. We're going to go back just to, well, that's the wrong number 5. It's 15 we're looking for. Fossa in P15. Just under a second behind. The next car ahead after the pit stops. We've seen a few split ups. Wait 1 minute and Hotiana stay out on this wet tyre. I don't know if they're maybe looking for the wet compound. If they can. In the meantime, that is going to be Elwain making the move in a very laggy fashion. They go off the circuit, and they genuinely go off the circuit here. They get back through eventually, and now they try and make their progress. All of a sudden their internet's improved, but then it's gone back completely a different way, and now they're a mile ahead. That was interesting. Hopefully that doesn't affect the race too much. Owain 7.6 seconds out in front from Verf. And then it's Terence, the next current tier driver. The next pit stopper is Frantic in P4 and then Yanaldi. They have a decent gap between them and the next pit stopper. There's Verf taking their tyres as long as they possibly can. And they go off to the cool side of the circuit to cool down those tyres before going back to the dry surface and then taking the racing line to brake on track. It's the intermediate tyre run from the beginning of the race for the top 3. They've gained a lot out of this by pulling off this strategy. Frantic, of course, from pole position has come out ahead, and they went into the pit lane a fair few laps ago, to be honest. 7-lap-old intermediate tyres. But they still did lose out on some initial performance in the opening laps, of course, by falling down. And way behind Elwain, who despite being disconnected from the session, is back into this race and has enough of a gap to be quite relaxed at this stage, really. And if we look at the gap between the race leader, they've got 19 seconds to the next current tier driver, which is absolutely insane. From P6 to P1 and then breaking away that gap, a very good effort. We're going to go and see if we can have a look with Way 1 minute, who's got some pressure from Abubakar. These guys still on the wet tyres. They've got PJ catching up rapidly like there's no tomorrow. They're 1 second behind, and they're only going to catch up even more on some fairly fresh intermediate tyres, and they're already going to be looking to them for the move. That's the inside line, and it's going to be then the next wet tyre that they want to have a go at. Abubakar couldn't do anything about that one, as they're all the way over the circuit, just losing their car left, right and centre. That wet tyre is surely done. You can't be driving on it anymore. The grip is nowhere. It's going to be wearing quite heavily, especially in drier conditions where the tyre is overheating as well. For now, they keep it where they need to, and there it is, the move. Nicely done from PJ. It's the pit stop for Way 1 minute and Abubakar. Jay Holly gets a time penalty in the meantime, the first time penalty of the evening since the drive-through penalty from PJ earlier on. There is Abubakar, there is Burns in behind. It's still the wet tyre for the Aston Martin, so we're not quite clear from the blue wall tyre on the track at the moment. Owain still leading the way quite nicely. We've got Burns, we've got Edvir on some very fresh intermediate tyres, looking to try and make some progress on Burns if they can. How quick is this 3-lap-old tyre going to be compared to a 6 laps difference? 2.5 seconds could be decent. And that is already a pit stop onto a slick tyre from Marcinek and Jay Holly. So it's still raining out on track. It's dried up a lot, but they're hoping that it's going to be dry enough to be taking it onto slicks. Onto a medium tyre on lap 15 would be way too long to take it anyway, but there's going to be no grip out there on track. We've not even got DRS enabled. And you can see the grip is nowhere. under braking, it's going to be pretty difficult as well. They managed to get the car turned in fairness to them. But just on the throttle, it's unpredictable and you just can't do anything about it. So Holly, what are they going to be finding with this hard tyre? They're going to go through the S section, lifting off the throttle through the left-hand corner, which is usually considered flat in other conditions. On all the tyres at least, and the correct tyre. Trying to balance it, but it's all a little bit tricky and maybe a bit too early for this compound. We see Abubakar also go onto a hard tyre and weigh 1 minute onto the inters. They then go onto the hard tyre. It's still raining out on track. Gugner right behind and catching up with a decent rate, being on the correct tyre at the moment. Foster getting a time penalty as they absolutely speed in the pit lane. With this intermediate tyre, it's pretty difficult to deal with. There's the grip. Just look at how much grip they had. Even though there was a mistake there from Gegner, it was enough to be able to make the move on the slip compound tyre. It's just in front, weigh 1 minute. It's going to be all over the road. But for long, will it concern Gegner as the position should be gained? 11 lap old intermediates are not easy to deal with in fairness to them, but we can see 15 lap old tyres from the cars up in front. And there it is to move, and it's just about kept within track limits. Oh, and a little bit of lag and a little bit of spinning in the background. Jay Holly just doesn't find it working with this compound as they find the wall very slightly. There's a bit of front wing missing, unfortunately. They're going to have to try and rethink this one. Elwain leads the way. They have their 4.5 second advantage at the moment. Frantic in the meantime has been catching 5 lap difference in their tyre life compared to Terence. It does allow them to gain a decent amount. They've got a few lap cars to get through. The hard tyre runners, I should say, well actually no. Gegner is not a hard tyre runner. The Haas cars are not hard tyre runners. DRS still not available. Frantic goes for fastest lap as the switch over between the old tyres and the new tyres is now kicking in quite nicely. Terence, are they going to fight this one? Are they going to let Frantic go? I know what I would do in this scenario. It's about to become dry. I would fight it. It's wet conditions. You might as well try and keep a car behind in wet conditions because they're going to find it a lot harder to be able to make a move on you, as we saw in the beginning of this Grand Prix. There's no DRS and there's a lot more room for error, or less room for error when you're braking, so you can make big mistakes and lose out and maybe collide with another car if you're not careful. So that's why you have to be utilising the wet conditions when you can. And currently Terence has track position to be able to do that. The circuit is dry. It's looking like the rain has stopped now, but we still haven't got confirmation from the race director. Verf into the pit lane. Verf is into the pit lane. I'm not entirely sure if that's a call because they think it's dry, or if that's a call because they think that the tyres are going to explode. That's interesting because Elwain could be in trouble if that is the case. Terence could be in trouble if that is the case. Staying out from Frantic and Terence in the Red Bull car. They continue. Verf, are they going to struggle or are they going to be able to deal with these hard tyres? Well, they look very tentative, that's for sure. No, they're not good. These hard tyres are still a little bit too early to be put on the car, and those temperatures are not going to be easy to get in the tyre at all, let alone build back up once you've lost it. That's going to struggle in Audi on this intermediate tyre. Gets through the lapped car of Foster in P16. Still staying in this race in fairness to them. Well, it's actually not. It's Jay Holly in P10 and 11 off the circuit. goes the Aston Martin. They're side by side through turn 5 and then taking the racing line. It's way 1 minute getting back in front. And the slick tyre runners are slowly getting more common and they're slowly getting faster. There it is. DRS is enabled and Elwain is perfectly into the pit lane at the exact right time. Absolute perfection. And Terence is about to follow in as well as they're staying ahead of Frantic. Is Frantic going to dive into the pit lane? They do so in turn. And it will surely be Yanoli following as well. Verf might be taking the lead of this Grand Prix. No, Elwain still stays in front. A brilliant job from Elwain to still stay in front. It's going to be Yanoli into the pit lane, onto a fresh set of slick tyres they will go. 3 seconds time penalty for Edvir in the meantime. They've not got anyone around them at the moment. Out of all of that, it's a 2.2 second gap now that Verf has to Elwain. So gaining, what was that, like 2 seconds that they managed to find on the undercut that they would have maybe have gained something from, but they would have lost a decent amount as well. Purple in the first sector. Verf is going to start putting in some pretty good lap times now for sure. The Hungarian Grand Prix, they want a victory somewhere. That's going to be another incident there, unfortunately, for the Aston Martin team. It's going to be Abubakar's teammate Jay Holly this time. They're still out on track, but they're just having a little bit of a nightmare, and it's going to be a front wing change, and they're going to have to just try and navigate it to the pit lane. It is a hell of a shame to see that one end in that way, but there's still time in this race to go. We are fully dry at the halfway point. I think we were expecting to go a little bit longer into the race, but maybe a few radios from a few drivers has changed their strategy call, and that's why we saw a lot of drivers continue on track to go as far as they went. We're going to see the move on the damaged car from Phillip. The inside line is theirs, and they'll have it on the brakes. They'll try and have it on the brakes. They'll have it in the corner. Oh, that was interesting. That's, I guess, how you can get it done. It's Elwain, who is now directly ahead of Verf. The internet seems to have improved, and Elwain is able to race in a sufficient way, but there must have been some sort of mistake, because I don't think Terence has really lost a significant amount to Verf, but we still see Elwain just in ahead. Frantic now needs to try and find a way through the multiple race winner of this season. And that is another mistake at turn 4 from an Aston Martin, but this time it is Abubakar. They don't get damage, but they still finding trouble everywhere, and they're into the wall, and they've got damage. They're going to have to follow the same fate as their teammate. I'm not entirely sure what the game plan is here. I'm really sorry to everyone out on track right now that we've just had to witness that. A very unsportsmanlike behaviour from Tatiana. Hopefully it doesn't go any further than that. It is just a virtual safety car, fortunately, so they won't gain much from it. But we'll go racing in a matter of seconds. It's just about who can get the best exit off of the safety car restart from the virtual safety car. You can gain half a second, you can lose half a second. That would be a 1 second swing. It can be brutal, but if you play it right, you can change the course of your race. There it is. Oh, Bernst gets a drive-through penalty as they just missed out, unfortunately, not timing it right at all. And after all of that, a virtual safety car that really didn't need to happen, they've ended up losing out. And I can only apologise that. I am terribly sorry to the Red Bull car. who's trying to compete for the championship. In the background, Blackskull unfortunately finds their way to the barrier, and they're going to have to try and turn that car around. These hard tyres are not warming up. In the meantime, the battle just past them goes into the first corner. We're having a look. It's going to be Verf into P1. It's a switch up. I don't know if that was actually legit, because surely Verf wasn't going to give that position up like that. I think they had to give it up because of an illegal overtake potentially. So Verf had to allow Elwain to get back through to avoid getting a penalty, and they're going to have to go for take two at making a move. It's Frantic and Terence side by side. It's Terence once again ahead, and Frantic gives the position up as well. What's going on into turn one? I think there was contact maybe from Frantic's side, and they didn't want to take that position in the end, so they've given that one back. And the driver from Hong Kong stays in front for now. It's Yinaldi into the pit lane once more, and they're onto a fresh set of hard, well, I say fresh set, an old set of hard tyres, but still coming out on track fairly far in front of the rest of the field. With only Verf and PJ ahead being higher tier drivers, they are good to go. Burnt the tyres from the race, as they had a very good chance of scoring points, and that's just screwed Red Bull's chances over quite significantly. It promotes Blackskull once again, who, although doesn't have a front wing, is going to come back out and still have a chance to score points here. So Alpine only getting stronger at this point. Terence is doing all the lifting to try and keep Red Bull ahead of the French team in the championship. It's the outside line for Frantic. It's ahead into the braking zone, and we've seen that many times so far, and we'll see it again. It's Frantic ahead. On the traction, Terence had a quick look, but it was just not going to be possible. The DRS kicks back in, and there is the move. Elwain stays in front of Verf, and Verf just can't find a way through right now. When will they be able to find a way through? That's a different question. In the meantime, PJ makes the move on Yinaldi, or at least they're ahead. Yinaldi onto this fresh tyre. They're effectively even right now, just plus or minus a lap. In the meantime, behind as well, we've got a, well, not a switch, just a lapped situation as Edvir looks to make progress. It's Verf into P1 ahead, and that is into turn one as well. They eventually get the job done, and they've got the DRS to help them out as well. It's lap 24 to 35, and Verf has made it into first position from 15th where they started this race. And we're just going to have a quick look at the time penalty situation if we can. After, we will quickly have a look at PJ's situation, as they've got a bit of a battle going on, or a bit of pressure at least. The time penalty is 10 seconds for Philip Fossa, 6 for Jay Holly Abubakar, and then 3 seconds for Edvir, and away 1 minute. It's a slight defensive throw from PJ, but nothing more needed, as Yinaldi will not be able to look for any kind of solid move. They really have confidence in getting the job done, so they'll stay behind, and they'll allow PJ to stay with P1 for now. Running through turn 4. Verf gets the fastest lap of the race as they're unleashed into clean air. 2 seconds advantage. Elwain looking for their second victory in LSI. Frantic's now back up to P2 for the EU drivers, and it's Terence in P3. Then we've got PJ as a higher tier driver as well, currently running in P5, fighting with Yinaldi. Yinaldi would get promoted 2 positions to P4, just outside the podium, and then it'll be Edvir, wait 1 minute, Mark Tunick, Blackskull, Gegner, and then Philip scoring the final point on the grid, if it's to finish the way it is right now. PJ with No DRS. DRS though, and ERS being used by Yanaldi. Will they look to try and go through? Slight defensive manoeuvre to the middle and then back to the outside, and it is a back off moment there for Yanaldi as they allow PJ to stay in front. Edveer behind this battle. They do have a decent gap, but they're just trying to race their own race and score the points that they can score. In the meantime, we see a lot of spread from the grid. Terrence and Frantic not too far away. It's Williams versus Mercedes and then Williams versus Mercedes. This is currently your closest battle out on track, with PJ still holding on nicely. Here it is though, looking a bit more confident for the move. They do stay away, but it was definitely an intention right there. Didn't happen in the end. Foster into the pit lane as Jay Holly gets promoted, and we will see Tatiana also get the position as it's from the hard tyre. Onto, I don't know what tyre. It must be another set of 10-lap-old hard tyres. Or serving their 10-second time penalty and getting onto the soft compound instead, which is going to be very tough to take to the final stages. Frantic takes a decent gap out of Elwain's lead, but is that enough to see them fight for the victory in the final laps? I'm not utterly convinced. Oh, it's a big snap of oversteer from Yanaldi, and I think that's their attack done. They've held on for as long as they possibly could. They've got no DRS. They've got a lot of battery to use, and they might try and gain back throughout this lap. But that's once again another yellow, and from the Aston Martin at the back, Tatiana finds a virtual safety car as they go to the pit lane. Serving their 10-second time penalty in the moment as well. It's Elwain that leads the way and waits for the restart. Frantic in P3, nicely ahead of Terrence, who's looking for the podium for the EU drivers. We've got PJ, after serving their drive-through penalty at the beginning of this race. They've come a very long way to now sit in P5. They are 43 seconds behind, but they've done a brilliant job to do what they've done. Yanaldi just misses out, and I think they might be in a bit of trouble regarding DRS range. They do have the battery to charge with it, but so does PJ, and they're going to fight it. They're going to push their battery too. Yanaldi's quicker in a straight line. They've got a toe. They did actually have DRS from earlier on, and they secure that DRS once again for the rest of the race. Like 20 out of 35. We're coming to the closing stages. Another opportunity arises for Yanaldi. Will they go for it? ERS is being used. This is their chance. They continue to press the button down the outside line. The inside line is the one of choosing, and they break as late as they can. PJ's going to try and stick it around the outside. There's a big loss of traction from the Williams, but nowhere to be seen is the Austrian. It is the move done. Oh, is it going to be the move done? As a switchback's available, can PJ secure it up through into turn 4 up the hill? No. Blasting all of the battery available, and they're never going to get there in the end. That is a brilliant move from Yanaldi. They've just about secured it. They're in clean air. 35 seconds behind Terence, as they now try and make some progress, although with only, well, 5.5 laps remaining of this Grand Prix, to gain 35 seconds would be one hell of an achievement. We've got Edgeveer in P7, Way 1 Minute in P8 at the moment, and Mark Tunick in P9. Having a decent race, showing some good pace around Belgium. Having a mistake as well, but coming back from it nicely and showing what they could do here and there. So I can't wait to see what they can do in the future as they go and set a fastest lap in the race on the fresh medium tyres to take themselves to the end of this Grand Prix. Philippe retires in the pit lane, and another virtual safety car is deployed. Sorry, not retires in the pit lane, they retire out on track. That's on the exit of the S's, which is an interesting place to crash. Are we going to see anyone pit? I don't think we're going to see many cars pit. We see Joe Holly, we see Edgeveer, we do see Verf dive into the pit lane as well, which is an interesting call. I think they're aware that they have the ability to do it and not lose really much, if anything. Are they going to maintain the lead of the Grand Prix? I doubt it. Frantic would have definitely gained the position or the lead of the Grand Prix if Elwain did go in. Elwain goes to P1 once again and has the opportunity to possibly secure this victory on track this time. Although a soft tyre for Verf is going to be absolutely killer. Having to wait also behind the lapped cars, you're going to have to follow their delta times. So if they're behind on the delta, then you're going to be just as behind, if not maybe more. Luckily for Elwain, it seems like they have kept up with their delta, and the Williams isn't going to be losing too much at all. It's Frantic right at the back of Verf, but just looking at this compound of tyre, just watch as Verf will gain and gain and gain through the corners. Gonna send it with all the confidence in the world, and they'll see you in a bit. Struggling a little bit here and there. Verf's going to give it their absolute best. A lightweight car. Effectively, we're running a time trial car with just slightly worse tyre wear. Other than that, you've just got a bigger risk factor. But it's going to be 2.7 seconds gained at a rapid rate. Elwain's good to go to the end of the Grand Prix, but their tyres are going to be slightly older. Sure, Verf will be struggling like there's no tomorrow by the end of this race, but I don't think it's going to be enough to see them not win this Grand Prix. I would be very surprised. And we see Verf continue. They put the laps in. They put in the corners more like, as it's only a matter of moments that we'll see this happen. They've got a few straight sections to get through, and now the corners really creep in, and this is where all that lap time will be gained. And we're going to see Verf surely go for the move before the lap's even over, let alone in a couple of laps' time. And by the end of the Grand Prix, a switchback almost available on the exit of the chicane. I think it's going to be the turn 11 exit into turn 12 under braking is what they're going to be going for. As we saw, that was quite a popular movement or move into the wet part of this race, but never mind. They do stay behind and they aren't willing to go for the move on their rival, but they've been racing a fair few laps this Grand Prix, so they've had a good old scrap, a good old race, and they don't want to ruin it. They do give the respect, and they are going to look at taking the move in a safer manner on DRS, and just at the end of the lap, beginning the new one, they are now ahead and back into P1. Frantic though, 1.5 seconds away from the race lead. Elwain's not been able to maintain the pace from earlier on. We've got 3 laps to go of this Grand Prix, and we've got just over 1 second splitting P1 and P2 for the EU drivers. Way 1 minute and Mark Tunick are also going to be a battle to watch, and we'll see them as they race into the first corner of the circuit. In these final stages, the inside line will be chosen, the green car or the red car. Who will come out on top? The switchback is not going to be chosen. It's going to be trying to take it around the outside line, and actually the Ferrari is going to have the opportunity to do that. They brake late, they go deep into the corner, and they get the position back. They stay in front. That is one hell of a defence, although very on the limit. It's a time penalty for way 1 minute, and Mark Tunick knows that they can just stay in front. 45 seconds to the next car in front though. There isn't much to really risk, because you could only lose out to Blackskull behind. Currently the last point scorer would be Jay Holly. It will be Blackskull getting P8. And there it is. It's actually going to be Elwain losing the position. They brake as late as they possibly can to try and find a way back through, but no, Frantic is ahead. Frantic's got the job done. Can they take the victory as the champion? What is going on to the Williams car? Just not having any grip. Have they got a damage on that car? It doesn't look like it, but the grip is just not there. Otiana retires in the final stages, but it's not going to cause a safety car, as that looks like a pretty deliberate collision to me into that corner. But it's Frantic who's ahead. It's DRS range right now to Elwain, but with the way that their body language is looking with that car and no battery, I think Frantic might have just got the job done. Lap 34 out of 35, we're about to start the final run. We see Yanaldi into the pit lane, as they're not going to lose anything because PJ is a current tier driver, so they go into the pits as expected. Elwain, no DRS, no ERS, and Frantic has driven one hell of a race. They've got one more lap to take these tyres to the end of the Grand Prix, and they can call themselves a race winner under the champion status. Absolutely incredible stuff. In the meantime, this battle continues. Way 1 minute and Mark Tunick will have another take under DRS range conditions, and this is going to be the last major overtaking opportunity for Way 1 minute to actually make something stick. Of course, with time penalties, it's going to be very complicated. They use the battery, and they are going to have the momentum to go into the corner. It's going to be surely the outside line. They are invited to the left-hand side. Oh, Mark's going to try and give it all up to the edge of the line, and they are. There's a bit of contact. There's more contact. Surely that's damage on the front wing. And they slot in behind. It's a fierce battle that they're having, but Mark is going to always have the advantage. Blackskull gains as this battle happens up in front. They can see the two cars run up the hill, but they're not going to be involved in it by the end of this Grand Prix. Verf wins the Hungarian Grand Prix from its at the back of the pack. It's going to be incredible though for Frantic, who wins in F1.5 EU. Once again, they win the Hungarian Grand Prix, and they really do bring it up nicely for Alpine into the final race for the team's championship. Elwain in P2, and then it's Terence in P3, all for the EU drivers as they cross the line to make it a well-deserved podium. What a race. A very good strategy from Elwain and Terence and Verf. Frantic has managed to defy it. They started on the wets, but they still won the race. Verf, of course, taking it for the overall championship with a very, very good drive. Their home Grand Prix, they're going to be happy with that one to take another victory. Edvir catching up, or at least behind. But I don't think they're going to be able to get close enough as PJ struggles in the final stages. And there it is. A long old race, a lot happened. But in the end, you could almost predict it. Frantic on top. Well, Elwain very, very almost had it. And maybe with the connection issues, if they didn't happen, they would have possibly had the victory regardless. We go through the whole race director before we will go through the results. And then we will go for the post-race interviews. It is Verf in P1, Frantic in P2, and then Elwain in P3. We've got Terence, Yanaldi, PJ, Edvir, Martunik, Black Skull, and Waywoman in P10. And we've got Jay Holly, Gegner, Fossa, Abubakar Tiana, and then we've got DNFing earlier on was Philip, followed by Berners as well. Actually, Hotiana also DNFing as well. I just want to have a quick look at the race director and see if that fastest lap time did actually get classified. Well, it did just for a moment, a 6.955 due to connection issues, but it didn't get classed as the fastest lap, as we see Verf has that. We'll be back in a bit for the post-race interviews. Hello everyone and welcome to the post-race interviews of the Hungarian Grand Prix. That was one hell of a race, a decent grid this time. Frantic, you managed to beat them all. It wasn't an easy one though. The strategy at the beginning was, well, I think a lot of cars were caught off guard really, but you were the only car to really beat Terence and Elwain, who were the two cars behind you, and they started on the intermediate tyre, so I'm sure you're pretty happy with that race.
Well, yeah, I'm. Well, first of all, big hoo-ha, big hoo-ha. Well, yeah, I was going into this race with a bit of a head start, because I drove yesterday in the higher tier. So I was like, okay, I'm confident. Maybe I can be dominant. But then, well, the qualifying was good. But then I saw the wets at the start of the race, and I was like, okay, well, I'm not gonna win this one. So the start was decent, but then Wayne just came with the inters and he just humbled me or something. Like, that guy was crazy on the inters. So I knew like wets aren't going to work, so I had to switch to inters. But I think maybe I should have stayed out a few more laps because I got caught up in the train, so that cost me a few seconds. So that was a bit of a shame, but then I had to fight back with the dry stint. I didn't know or didn't think it was going to be dry this race. But well, it was drying up very quickly midway through the race. So we went on to the hards. The stint was good. The virtual safety cars weren't good for me. So I was kind of frustrated with that one because I saw I was closing in on Wayne and on Terence. But it was just, yeah, unfortunate for the virtual safety cars. But I mean, the grid size itself, it was very enjoyable. I think it's my... I think it's the most fun race I've driven in LSI. Obviously because I won the race. That's also a big factor in it. But it was just very enjoyable.
Good to hear. Good to hear. Yeah, it was very tricky all the way through, and you managed to manage it very well as a champion this time. So congratulations.
Yes.
Well done, and we'll see you next time. Awesome drive.
Yep. Appreciate you.
And we move on to Owain. Owain, well, I don't know. That was a brilliant drive, but I'm sure you're a little bit sour after that one because of the connection issues that you encountered. Do you think if you didn't find that in the opening laps that you maybe would have just won this race regardless, and there would have been a big enough buffer to win when the dry conditions kicked in?
It's definitely a possibility, but like I knew my internet's terrible and I never know when it's gonna go down, so it's just one of them. But like, I knew as soon as I saw it was raining, I knew it was kind of game on because I love the wet. Like, that's where I strive. Like, it's. But when it started to dry up, like, I knew Frantic and the people behind were going to catch up because this track isn't my favourite track, especially in the dry. So, I thought I'd done quite well to get a P2. It would have been nice to get the P1, get the victory, but it is what it is at the end of the day. But yeah, it's one of them. Really enjoyable race though. But yeah, but like, it was unlucky. Frantic's just a bit too fast. Like, he shows that in the qualifying and all of that. So it's one of them.
Yeah. He did do a very good job, and you can't take away from that, but you did a very good job as well. Had a brilliant stint. You must have known something that nobody else knew with the intermediate start. So congratulations on another great result, a great podium, and I'm sure another win is very, very close. Maybe even in Japan if it's a wet race.
Yes,
I'm sure you're hoping for that one.
Hopefully. I enjoy Japan a bit more, so hopefully, yes.
Awesome. I can't wait. Thank you very much, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you.
And we move on to PJ. PJ, well, a higher tier driver today, starting at the back of the pack. Unfortunately, disaster struck right at the beginning, and you had one hell of a journey to get to where you got to. And then in the final lap, something happened. I didn't quite get to see it, but can you take us through your entire race? Because that was crazy.
Yeah, I mean, I drove the track yesterday a little bit, but I must admit I had no training, was at the track at the first time, had 2 pints in it. So 2 pints of beer before, and yeah, so there was not much to take from yesterday. But yeah, today from the back of the grid, first wet race ever, my clutch pedal kind of slipped at the start, so I had the jump start like 2 seconds before the lights even went out, which was unfortunate. but because there were so many players today, I thought, yeah, let's just keep going, let's try the best. And I had free air pretty much the whole race, so I never had to overtake guys or got held up. Therefore, I drove my own race and did it quite well, and managed to do the change to the inters quite well into the hards, and yeah.
Yeah, it was it was a pretty crazy race, and wet conditions. With the experience that you've got, how did you find that? Because yeah, starting on the wet tires, maybe even when it's full wet conditions, I guess you found that it was the wrong one.
Yeah, I mean, the physics are a bit different to last year's game. So while during the first laps, I had to figure out how to drive in wet, and somewhere around lap 10, I think I had a good rhythm, and therefore I just kept driving on the inters until it was dry, and made a good call with the hard tires to do 20 laps on them. And suddenly I was in P5 and fighting in against P6. But after this virtual safety car restart on lap 31, I had ERS on overtake and DRS on the second straight after turn 1, and spun out, broke my front wing, and had to do 4 laps with a broken front wing, and ended up being half a second before P7. So unfortunate that I didn't get P5, but fortunate to get P6 at least.
Yeah, I mean, going from where you have come from with that drive-through penalty to go to P6 is very good regardless. So I think you should be very proud of what you've done today. Thank you very much, PJ.
Yeah.
Really
Thank
good
you.
job, and we'll see you next time. And we move on to Terence. Terence, well, the strategy worked out quite nicely for you in the end, didn't it? It was a lovely, was it P6 to P8 to P3 or 2 in the beginning or something like that with the strategy. It was a hard fight in the beginning for sure, but I'm sure you're happy with that. Verf as a higher tier driver gets demoted, so you're on the podium out of all this grid.
Yeah, it's a nice feeling to drive in wet. I'm looking forward to wet a lot more time, but it's just come out with 1 or 2 Grand Prix, and that is the Grand Prix that I have the rain in it. Feel pretty good on controlling the inters, the throttle, whatever. I feel pretty good, enjoying it, and much faster, much more competitive when I was in dry. So yeah, enjoying it, but so unfortunate that the race still going dry in the later half of the race. So I lost the place to Frantic. He did a pretty good job on whatever situations, go through those wet traffics after he pits on to intermediates is for me is frustrating, because I think on the stream I got pushed wide by Ed there for 3 or 4 times, lost positions, gaining back, and tried my best to overtake him. Obviously he managed to do a very good defending, but some of them maybe push a little bit so aggressively. But yeah, still enjoying it, and so happy for the podium.
Yeah, it was brilliant. So I guess you and Elwain are both asking for a full wet setting to be applied instead of dynamic weather in Japan. Really well done, Terence. Very happy for you with that brilliant result. It was a great race to watch. Thank you very much, and we'll see you next time.
See you.
And that's been it for the post-race interviews. Thank you very much for watching. It's been a pleasure. We will see you next weekend for the final race of the season in Suzuka. Have a good one. Bye-bye.